Do you know that it's been more than a year since Gekko debuted in the world of Valorant? Well, time sure does fly fast when you're grinding to be the very best that no one ever was. But enough about Pokemon here. Gekko has come a long way from being one of the most unique initiators in the game. Seeing him in multiple VCT team comps throughout the year is a testament to his capabilities and his prowess. And that's why today we're going to be diving deeper into what makes Gekko a phenomenal agent and how you can maximize his abilities. Dizzy is one of the most powerful and versatile utilities Gekko has in his arsenal. So as it currently stands, Gekko is the only remaining initiator who has a blind that can be recovered or replenished. Now this is going to give you an insane amount of value throughout the round as long as you stay alive and recover Dizzy. However, the catch is what we can consider the tricky part when playing Gekko. So while we'll admit being able to recover Dizzy every single time is definitely easier said than done, it's definitely feasible though with strategic planning and strategic placement. Before jumping the gun and immediately throwing your flash without a care in the world, just try and think of the bigger picture, alright? Visualize the map together with the potential positionings of the enemy team. Then try to ensure you have these points secured in your checklist. Number 1, am I flashing to gather info or to initiate contact? Number 2, will the trajectory of this flash cover usual corners and angles? Number 3, will my teammates be able to follow up when someone gets flashed? Number 4, will I be able to recover Dizzy safely after throwing the flash? Now, you don't necessarily have to follow all of these 4 things religiously in every single situation, but it's very rewarding if you do that. However, if it's at the expense of losing a man advantage, it's definitely best to leave your Dizzy and regroup or reposition accordingly. It's also worth noting that Dizzy is most powerful when it's paired with another agent's flash utility. Since Dizzy can be easily destroyed with the right amount of awareness, another agent's flash can definitely make up for this. If done simultaneously, you're going to increase the odds of blinding your opponents. Similar to how you play initiators such as like KO, Breach, or Sky, you can also try to play around with the angles and the trajectories of your Dizzy. An example of this is by hiding behind cover and throwing your Dizzy directly upwards. If you can also jump before throwing it so that it can reach its maximum height, covering more corners in an area. So since you threw it upwards, you're also going to be able to recover it easily, given that you did so behind cover. You can think of it as playing kind of like an off-angle flash that your enemies are going to expect less. Now, let's take a look at some common useful spots where you can use Dizzy to gather info safely throughout the round. Number 1, ascent trees. Number 2, Lotus Waterfall. 3, bind elbow and hookah. 4, split A-site. 5, sunset A-site. You can use the same mechanics for different spots in other maps, but do try to exercise map awareness when you do so. If the enemies are too close, you might get punished, so try to get a good read of the situation based on the info that your team has. Oh, the amount of times we've had to thank Wingman for clutching rounds and diffuses for us. It's like having an additional +1 in your team that can plant, diffuse, and clear corners for you. Wingman is best used in synergy with your team's site execute. Never ever send Wingman to site alone without any cover from you or your teammates. Otherwise, you're going to end up stuck with the spike placed in dangerous enemy territory. Similar to how teammates protect or cover you when planting, you can also ask for smokes to cover Wingman while he performs his duty. This also applies whenever you use him to defuse the spike during retakes. Just remember that his main advantage as a utility is being able to defuse the spike while you take active angles to cover the defuse. However, he's also vulnerable to mollies and damage dealing utilities, so do try to keep that in mind. The only exception to this rule by far is Viper's molly. Apparently, Wingman can tank through Viper's snakebite, so this can be a good counter to an enemy Viper playing lineups. Another great Wingman trick you can use is sending him to defuse, but before he makes it to the spike, have a teammate half the defuse before letting it go. Wingman's going to keep running towards the spike until he gets to defuse it. This will create an illusion that you let go of the defuse to engage in a fight, but in reality, you just pass the torch to Wingman. Now, of course, that'll also work best if you have a smoke covering the spike. If you need to clear angles safely, don't hesitate to use Wingman to check corners for you too. You can either swing as soon as he detects someone or wait for him to concuss the enemy. Nevertheless, you're going to get info on the exact location of an enemy trying to get you at a cheeky angle.
Now, keep in mind, if you're looking to climb, by far the most important thing for you to master is the fundamentals. This goes far beyond things like crosshair placement and counter strafing too. It also includes things you probably don't even realize that you're doing wrong, like peeking, spacing with teammates, or even just where you choose to stand. The players who are consistently able to drop 30 in their matches, they're all masters of these things. And you could be too now with our Aim God Masterclass that's expertly designed to teach you all of the fundamentals that you need to know in just one course. Our goal is to have this course teach you everything you need to know, which is exactly why we are constantly updating it as users submit feedback. The game, it's always developing, and that's why our website is too. With new courses posted every single month, you can be sure you're always ahead of the curve when it comes to your mechanics. And on top of that, we also offer a rank improvement guarantee, so if you don't climb while using our service, you don't pay. Now we know it sounds insane, but our #1 priority is to be a standing name in the community for years to come, and the only way to do that is to create the best product that we can. Check it out using the link below.
Unlike other mollies in the game that deal consistent damage at a consistent speed, Mosh Pit functions a little bit differently. The damage buildup is a bit slow at first, but after a short while, it starts to burst significantly. Now, while you may think this could be a disadvantage, it often catches enemies off guard, especially when they're at the center of the impact area. Now, due to the massive radius Mosh Pit covers, it grants a variety of opportunities for lineups and utility combos. If you're a lineup Larry here, you can apply the same lineups you have from Killjoy and KO since their mollies follow the same trajectory. Just try to be careful and think ahead whenever you use Mosh Pit though. This is the only utility Gekko has that can't be recovered, so definitely use it wisely each round you have it. Always communicate with your team if you want to do a combo to get a few easy frags with it. For instance, Gravnet, Slow Orb, Concuss, or Vulnerable and Decay-inducing abilities can help get more value out of your Mosh Pit. The closer the enemies are to the center of the Mosh Pit, the better the chances of picking them off quickly. Ever got detained by Thrash only to be followed up by a Gekko dancing just before knifing you off? Been there, done that, cried a little bit. Yeah. That's only one of the many things you get to accomplish with a successful usage of Thrash. Now, on top of that, Gekko's ult is pretty easy to cycle since it costs only 7 orbs. Each round, you can get at least 2 orbs by getting an ult orb and planting, and more if you get frags or you die in that round. Now, we all know the value is in getting enemies detained, but don't let it stop there. Thrash is also great at clearing the site and gaining lots of space to plant. Since Thrash can be used twice in a round, you can initially use it to gather space and allow your team to plant. Again, strategic planning and strategic movement is key, so if you don't find anyone hiding in cheeky angles, it's best to have Thrash return to you after clearing sight. That way, you're going to be able to recover it safely for another round of Monster on the Loose. Just be careful not to activate Thrash when returning it to you though. The best way to do this is by either letting Thrash run its course without pressing left click or pressing X to end the duration instantly. When using Thrash, do take note that you don't have to hold the W key to keep it moving forward. Thrash automatically travels forward, so you can take advantage of its movement by air strafing with the A and D keys. Doing this will make it harder for your enemies to destroy and keep track of Thrash. You can also detonate Thrash prematurely by double-clicking. Now, normally when you left click after activating Thrash, you can see it jumping a distance before exploding. However, if you double click, you can instantly activate Thrash as soon as it jumps. This is going to help you secure targets getting detained. Take a look at the first activation of Thrash. You can see how far it lands as well as the area of effect. Now, on the second activation, there's a noticeable difference in how close the area of effect is due to double clicking. Enemies with great movement can easily dodge Thrash by juking, so try to catch them off guard by activating Thrash prematurely to ensure they get detained. Now that we've gotten a grasp of the concepts of the best way to play Gekko, it's time to see our homie in action. So let's take a look at some pro players destroying the competitive scene using Gekko and his elite Pokemon squad. Starting off with Energy's very own Psalm. You might see him often play controller agents in BCT, but don't get it twisted. Even if you put him as Gekko, he definitely knows his way around, even when playing casually. At the start of the round, we can see Psalm playing A-side. As soon as the barrier drops, he aims directly upwards towards the sky to throw a dizzy. This is a common technique that can give info whether there's presence in A main or not. However, if it was a rush side execute from the enemy team, you can also get punished with it, especially if they have mobile agents like Jet, Raze, or Neon. Now, while this is definitely a useful technique, proceed with caution when you get a good read of the enemy's playstyle. If they often favor rush executes, it's best to hold off elsewhere unless your team has a good counter strategy to follow up on your dizzy. After his teammates calm that the enemy's going B, Psalm reclaims his dizzy and decides to get the orb before rotating. This definitely a wise decision since he knows most, if not all, of the enemy's team are near B. Additionally, this allowed him to get his Thrash ready for an easier retake. Now, as soon as Psalm reaches B side, he was the last player standing. Usually, this isn't worth the risk to get your ultimate down at the cost of all your teammates. However, they were able to lower the enemy's numbers down to 3 players, so since Gekko can be quite self-sufficient, it's very much winnable. The first thing he does on his solo retake is throw Wingman toward the right wall. This allows Wingman to clear anyone camping on the left side, followed by a dizzy that traveled towards the right area of backside. The simultaneous use of these two utils cleared the entire backside for him without any risks. Now, at the farthest point of dizzy trajectory, we can see that he was still able to blind one enemy on the narrow passage to the right. But since nobody peeked, Psalm decided to throw his mosh pit towards the blinded area to prevent him from getting pushed or peeked there. This was when he started to drop down and actually take 1v1 engagements. Since all his utils are used, apart from his ult, the rest came down to aim. Now, fortunately, the enemy team did give him 1v1s, allowing him to best them one by one. After a successful 3v1 clutch, all there's left is for Psalm to bask in his glory as he exclaims, "I'm the best to ever do it, gang." Our second in-game Gekko showcase comes from 100 Thieves' very own resident initiator and duelist, Asuna. Before the round starts, we can hear a friendly competition brewing between Asuna and Derek from Evil Geniuses, as he mentions that he's currently 4-0 against Derek in the game.
Also, I killed Derek again. Let's go. I have like I'm 4-0 against Derek.
Now, this shows that despite Asuna playing the ranked game casually, there is some heated rivalry developing as the game progresses, and he'd certainly love to prevail. As soon as he hears a commotion at mid, he decides to immediately rotate to A and provide support from A Link. Now at this point, it seems like a potential A split, and their Astra gets to pick off the enemy Jet with the aid of Cypher's info. However, the advantage is traded early by the enemy's Deadlock besting their Jet as well. Now, due to Asuna's early rotation and positioning, he was able to catch a timing on Deadlock as she placed a Sonic Sensor on A Link. This gives him a number of options to play his next move here. For instance, he can destroy the trap and beta peek, destroy the trap and reposition, or catch another timing by walking past the trap. On the next few seconds, we can see Asuna proceeding with option 3. He walks past the trap with utmost discipline here, clearing every single angle. The first info he gathers is an audio cue from Deadlock, throwing a barrier mesh towards B Link. The second one is him catching a glimpse of Reyna going through vents. Now, since Deadlock has a false sense of security with the Sonic Sensor and Reyna's positioning, she starts to make footstep noises while moving straight to A Link without clearing Asuna. As a result, Deadlock gets caught off guard, and the rest of the team cleans up Gekko and Clove almost simultaneously. Now, since Asuna saw Reyna from Catwalk, he has the info on her whereabouts. Having his ult up, he immediately calms that he'll ult the Reyna and finish her off. As much as Reyna can run off early to avoid Thrash, it was Asuna's movement with Thrash that came on top. We can see how smooth the movement was, navigating through vents and catching Reyna off the jump from Catwalk. He incorporated air strafing and bunny hopping to catch up to his target here. If you've also noticed, the jump from Catwalk to A Link was actually a bit short, and if Asuna didn't activate Thrash at the bottom of the jump, it would have fallen to the pit. Asuna's impeccable reaction and quick thinking allowed him to detain Reyna. While Reyna also made a smart move by wrapping around with commendable movement, she came up just a bit short. Without Asuna's agile movement and perfect decision-making, Reyna would have caught him in Frank Ocean pose. Now, to top the stylish use of the ultimate off, Asuna decides to finish her off with a knife kill that's also done in style. It's kind of reminiscent of how you play Spy on Team Fortress 2, just given how smoothly he jumped around Reyna to get a clean backstab. Nothing could have made that last kill more perfect than Asuna's smooth and stylish finish. The past 2 years of VCT has been quite a showcase of extremely talented flexi role players. One of them is our former champion, Demon1. Now, as much as we've known him dominating the league as a nasty jet, we've learned that there's more to him than meets the eye. Let's take a look at how a former duelist main applies his experience on an initiator like Gekko.
Get back in there, Phoenix. Someone's saying. Two detained.
I know exactly.
Get in there. They're full blind. Get in there.
Left side. I have a flash.
After the barriers dropped, we can see a fast engagement toward A main. This caused Demon1 to immediately rotate from mid and support his team. Initially, Demon1 thought of flashing over to A main, but since no one can capitalize off of it, he decided to get closer and use his Thrash instead. He then proceeds to tell the Phoenix to get back in the fight and flash as he delivers the monster on the loose. Lo and behold, what a wise decision that it was. It followed him and his teammates to counter the enemy's aggression. Shortly after detaining a whopping 4 players, he follows up with a dizzy towards the small window on A lobby. Now, he originally even thought that there were only 2 detained. You can hear from his comms that he's hyping his team to get in their faces after a massive util dump. You can also see from his actions how aggressive he really can be, even as an initiator in defense. A quick and easy round goes to his team, all thanks to his quick thinking, his strategic aggression, and well-timed utility usage. To top the round off, he was surprised himself that he actually detained 4 people in that round. That's good game, well played, and go next for the enemy team.
All right, though, guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little bit more about SkillCapped. So we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and we think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's kind of like a gym membership guaranteeing you that you're gonna get ripped. Your local gym would probably go bust if they offered you that. But not us, because we've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium Valorant guides on the internet. We add new courses every month with over 1,000 guides curated into over 50 courses. No one can compare. We also have a direct line of communication with subscribers in our Discord so that you can get connected immediately to some of the best players in the game who will respond to every question you ask. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you're serious about improving your game. So that's going to be all for this one today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.